Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking all about my Holy Grail makeup that is currently on sale. So I promise after this video, I will stop talking about sales because I am pretty much bored of hearing about all the sales going on and kind of annoyed at it. So I'm sure you guys are too, but I did want to go through talking about my Holy Grail products that are currently on sale for Black Friday or Cyber Monday. Obviously, this time of year, we are just bombarded with sales. And I just want to disclose, first of all, if you are not in the position to be spending money, please disregard this video. Please don't feel pressured to buy products just because there is a sale going on. If you are not going to buy these products at full price, don't buy them just because they're on sale. There will be many other sales. There will always be another sale. There's going to be sales in the new year and in the spring and then again in the fall and then again this time next year. So you can always wait to purchase product if you are in a better position next year. Just please don't feel pressured. So all these products that I'm talking about today, you have heard me talk about on my channel because these are products that I consistently use, or they're products that I have actually used up completely and repurchased a new batch of products. So these are Holy Grail products, and I will kind of go over the sales that are happening with these current products. So I'm going to start off with the complexion, and I have a few different foundation products to talk about just because I wanted there to be kind of a variety of products. So currently Peau is having their Black Friday / Cyber Monday sale, and it is up to 25% off. So this sale has already started and it ends November 28th. So for the Cyber Week event that they're having, it is 10% off $150, 15% off $200, 20% off $300, and 25% off $500. And Peau is definitely like the Rolls Royce of luxury beauty. It is very, very luxury, so it is quite pricey. And if you could get it at a discount, I would highly recommend. And honestly, so many of my Holy Grail products are at Peau. So starting out with the complexion, first I have to talk about the Peau, the foundation. If you wanted to try out this foundation, now would be the perfect time because, again, you can get up to 25% off depending what you purchase. And if you purchase this foundation, that's already like 20% off because this is such a pricey foundation. Some of you have actually asked if I still like this foundation because I haven't talked about it in a while. And there's a reason why I haven't talked about it in a while, and it's because sometimes I don't get the nicest comments when I use this foundation or when I talk about this foundation, just because it is quite pricey, and I am hesitant to mention it because it is so expensive, and I know some people are put off by that. So that's kind of why I haven't talked about it. It's not because I don't like it. If you can tell, this is the reformulated The Foundation. The old The Foundation was in this kind of packaging, but this revamped version is, I would say, even more beautiful, even though this was still like one of my Holy Grail foundations. This version I like even more because it's a little bit less hydrating than the prior formula. So I feel like even if you have an oily complexion, you potentially could still use this foundation. I do think you would have to powder this down if you have oily skin though. If you're like super duper oily, I don't think this would work for you though because it is more hydrating. If you have mature skin, if you have dry skin, if you have even combo skin, this would definitely work for you. And if you can tell, I have like one use left, if that. I have like nothing of this. So I love this foundation, and I actually am going to be repurchasing a backup during this sale. And all the products that I'm purchasing, I will get my 25% off discount with Peau, but I love this foundation. This is the shade 040 Light Tan Ochre. One thing I want to mention about this is that this foundation runs, I want to say, like a full shade lighter. So 040 would usually be too dark for me in other versions of this foundation because usually I'm in 030 in Peau foundations. I will say this is a touch too dark, but the shade 030 is way too light for me that it just doesn't work for me. So 040 is my best match. If you are looking for something that gives your skin that it literally looks like your skin is perfected without having a lot of coverage. So this is definitely a light, buildable, I would say, to medium, if that. But this just makes your skin look so beautiful. It's hard to describe it. It makes it look like you have a filter put over your skin. It is the most gorgeous foundation. Like your skin just looks so plump and healthy and youthful. This is a blurring foundation, so your skin looks smooth and blurred, and this is just hands down one of the best foundations on the market. The price tag is kind of there for a reason, I want to say. It has no irritating ingredients for me. If you don't know, I have very sensitive acne prone skin. This doesn't break me out. This doesn't irritate my skin at all. It is perfection. And then another Clé de Peau foundation I want to mention is the Clé de Peau Radiant Cushion Foundation Dewy. This one I do wear the shade 030 Medium Ochre. And I really like this because it's just a super easy product because it is a cushion foundation. So, you know, it's plastic packaging. It's maybe not the most luxurious feeling, especially when you're comparing it to this foundation. But it is luxurious on the skin. The experience with this foundation is beautiful. I would say these foundations, they're quite similar in their blurring capabilities, but this Cushion Dewy foundation, it has more coverage. I would say this is medium, definitely a solid medium foundation. I would say you could even potentially build it to fuller coverage. I usually keep it at a medium, or I'll sheer it out and make it a light coverage. But this is a great foundation option if you're someone that wants variety with your foundation. So if you want that potential to build it up to a fuller coverage, but you also want to be able to sheer out this type of foundation as well, if you just want to wear it on an everyday basis. Because obviously if you're going to be spending money on a pricey foundation, you probably want it to be something that you could use for different occasions, not just, you want to be able to use it for everyday and special occasions. And this is that type of foundation for me. I find it very long wearing. It's definitely a hydrating foundation, but I don't think it's too hydrating. It doesn't look too dewy on my skin. Again, I do feel like if you have very oily skin, this probably won't work. But if you have combo, dry, mature, normal skin, this will work beautifully for you. And if you're combo oily, you probably would have to set it down with powder, but this is just a phenomenal, phenomenal foundation. And then the last foundation I want to mention is a Surratt foundation. So this is the Dewdrop foundation, and Surratt is currently having a 30% off Black Friday / Cyber Monday sale. I don't know how long it's going on for. I couldn't find anything on their site. So if any of you have any idea how long the sale is going on for, I would love to know. But I absolutely love this foundation. This is definitely a light foundation. I would say sheer buildable to light coverage, maybe light medium coverage. And it is definitely, even though it's called the Dewdrop foundation, I don't think it's that dewy of a formula. It's more of a, I guess it would be more of a satin finish on my dry skin. But this also has that beautiful blurring capability to it. It's a very interesting formula because it almost has this light reflection to it that just makes the light bounce off of your skin and makes your skin look more blurred and just more beautiful with this product on. It is such a unique formula and so beautiful. I had 3 shades. I've actually gone through one fully. So I've gone through the shade 10. I repurchased the shade 8. I originally wasn't going to, but I decided to repurchase the shade because I do really like it. And then Surratt actually sent me the shade number 5. So thank you, Surratt, for sending this to me. And I did repurchase the shade 8 though. And then 10 was a little bit too deep for me, and I've gone through it. So this is kind of in my empties bin. But I just love this foundation. It's a beautiful everyday foundation. And even though it's more on like, again, I don't want to say it's fully radiant because you can't, there's no like shimmer and it's not super radiant. You don't look greasy or anything like that. But even though it is more of a hydrating foundation, it lasts all day long on me. And it's just such a beautiful, beautiful foundation. Very forgiving if you have any textured skin or anything like that, because again, it just really blurs and smooths the skin gorgeously. The concealer that I have to mention, this is something that you guys have heard me talk about. This is the Surratt Dewdrop Concealer. This is just phenomenal. Now, I do want to disclose that Surratt did send me this concealer, and they sent it to me in the shade number 3 and 4. So number 3 was definitely way too light for me, so I actually passed it off to my mom. And this is a concealer that my mom really loves as well. And my mom is 65, so for her to love the same concealer I do, I think says a lot that it will work for mature skin. If you have more lines under your eyes, she really likes how this doesn't crease, it doesn't settle into those lines, and it just wears all day long. When we went to Hawaii, this is the concealer that she brought as well, and I brought this concealer to Hawaii as well. I do wear the shade 4. It's potentially a little bit too light for me. I could probably do the shade 5 or maybe even 6. But this concealer is truly the best concealer I have ever used. It has very good coverage. I would say it's medium buildable to a fuller coverage. Really great coverage. And for someone, like my main struggle with my skin is my under eyes. So I'm someone that likes a very light coverage on my skin, especially on a daily basis. I like my skin texture to show through. I like that you can see freckles or even discoloration through on an everyday basis, but I really hate my under eye circles, or hate is a strong word. I dislike that probably the most. So I'm someone that is probably the most self-conscious about that. So having this type of concealer where I don't require a color corrector underneath is just fantastic. This is just so beautiful of a formula because it's such a thin texture. It's very lightweight on the under eyes. It does not feel heavy at all, and it just covers up your dark circles, and it doesn't settle into fine lines. It doesn't crease. It just wears all day long, and it wears very beautifully throughout the day. It doesn't look dry throughout the day. It doesn't look heavy. It doesn't look cakey. It is so, so gorgeous. Highly recommend if you haven't tried out this concealer, you must. It's gorgeous. And then for a facial concealer, I just love this Clé de Peau, the concealer. I wear the shade Almond. I could probably do the shade Honey as well. I tend to use this only as a facial concealer though, because this for me does not perform very well on the under eyes. It's a little bit too heavy, but as a facial concealer, it is beautiful. So again, if I'm doing something super lightweight, like just a tinted moisturizer, or maybe I'm doing like the Chanel Water Fresh tint, which is like basically a no makeup, or even if I don't even want to wear foundation, just applying this in certain areas on the skin, or if I do have a breakout, because again, I'm very sensitive to products. If I try out a product and it irritates me or it breaks me out, this is the concealer I rely on because it is a full coverage concealer, but it has a very skin-like texture to it, and it just wears beautifully all day long. So if you do have acne or discoloration, it's going to stay put, and it's not going to like pucker, it's not going to move throughout the day, especially if you set it down with a powder. So if you're looking for a great facial concealer, highly recommend this one. Now let's chat powder. So this will be no surprise. And again, so thankful that Clé de Peau is having this sale, but the Clé de Peau Refining Pressed Powder is my holy grail, the best of the best setting powder of all time. This comes in just one color. I'm really hopeful that now that Clé de Peau is kind of reinventing their makeup, like they have definitely reformulated a lot of stuff, I'm hoping that they bring this out in different tones, because I do think that even though this is translucent, it's not going to work for someone that has a very deep complexion, just because the translucent shade is like a white powder, so it might look a little ashy on someone. However, this is the best powder on the market because it doesn't add any texture, it doesn't add any color or coverage to your complexion when you set it. It just sets down your makeup and it refines your skin. It makes your skin look completely blurred and filtered and just so smooth. It's so gorgeous. It's the best powder I've ever tried. This is something I use on an everyday basis, pretty much, unless I am kind of switching something out or I want a bit more coverage or color or something like that. However, this is just, it's so good, and it's such a finely milled powder. It feels silky, silky smooth. I would pick up a backup of this, but it is sold out in Canada. I'm kind of devastated about it. This is in stock in the US. If you haven't checked out this powder yet, you need to try it out because it is truly, truly remarkable, and it's the best powder product I have ever tried. And I'm going to move along to bronzer. So Chantecaille is currently still having their 25% off sale. If you use the code Lisa25, you can get 25% off. I just want to quickly mention this because I did talk about this in my Chantecaille sale video, but this is the Chantecaille Sirena bronzer. I did realize after I filmed that video that they have discontinued this shade. They currently only have the shade Goa. Sirena is unfortunately my favorite shade, and they currently still have the limited edition packaging available, so I would pick it up while you can. Just this formula is truly, it's unique, and it's such a stunning formula to work with, and it's a stunning formula on the skin because it truly melts into your skin and looks skin-like. This tone is beautiful. It just melts into your skin so beautifully. It doesn't even look like you've applied a bronzer because of how skin-like this product is. It has a bit of a sheen to it, but there's no shimmer particles, and that sheen just imparts that skin-like quality, like, because obviously your skin on your face isn't completely matte, so it just really does look like skin. It's gorgeous. And then I had to talk about the Surratt bronzer. That is not the bronzer. So this is something that Surratt does send me PR, but I purchased this myself, and I really enjoy this formula. Now, I do have to say, my holy grail bronzer is the Valentino bronzer, which is always out of stock, and also the Hermes bronzer, but that Hermes bronzer is so expensive, and that's never on sale either. So my runner-ups are the Chantecaille and the Surratt. So this formula is truly beautiful. So it's very different than the Chantecaille because this is a big chalet, so it's very stiff, very hard to pick up. You need a very dense brush to pick up this sort of product. And with the Surratt, it's just a typical powder formula. Actually, I'm going to reframe that. It's not a typical powder formula because it is so creamy, so velvety, and so smooth. When you feel this, it feels like a fabric. It is, wow, it's just a gorgeous formula. If you're familiar with their eyeshadows, it's very similar in that it feels so creamy. So it applies like a powder product, but it melts into the skin like a cream. So it almost melts into the skin just like the Chantecaille product does, but it's a little easier to apply because it's just a straight up powder product. So you don't need to use any special brushes. You can just use whatever brush, but because of that, it is definitely more pigmented. So maybe go in with a lighter hand. But this formula is beautiful. The tone is actually extremely similar to that Chantecaille Sirena. So there is the Surratt, and then the Sirena is there. They're very, very, very similar in tone. I guess the Surratt is just potentially a little bit deeper, but they're both very beautiful. The Surratt is definitely more of a matte formula. There is no shimmer or anything to this product. Now for my Holy Grail blush, I did want to mention the Valentino Blush. So Sephora is from December 1st to December 10th. They're having a one-time use code where you can get 20% off just using that code. But again, it's only for one-time use. So be very careful with what you purchase because you only have one chance. But, you know, I guess the VIP sale wasn't enough, that we have to have another sale just in time for Christmas. So maybe if you forgot someone on your Christmas list, this is a great opportunity to pick something up. But if you didn't happen to get the Valentino blushes when I mentioned them before, I just have to reinstate how gorgeous that I think this formula is. It actually really reminds me, it reminds me of the Surratt formula, but I would say the Valentino blushes feel more like a cream product than the Surratt does. The Surratt just feels like a very creamy powder, where this kind of feels like a cream product. It's interesting, but again, it applies like a powder product. You can tell what kind of formulas I like. I like those very skin-like formulas, so they have a very creamy quality to them, because then they do eventually melt into the skin and look very skin-like, so it's kind of like undetectable makeup on your skin. These are my favorite shades. The shade number 9, Poudre, which is just a very great neutral shade. If you're looking for something that you can wear every day, for any situation, if you're someone that likes to wear bright colors or bright lipsticks or bright eyeshadows, this would be a great one because it's so neutral. My favorite shade is the shade number 2, Very Rose. And I really like this. I'm very neutral with what I wear, like on my face, even my clothing. Most of the time I wear black or white or beige. I'm not a very colorful person, so for me, having this pop of color, and even though it looks like a scary pop of color that is going to look very unnatural, it actually looks very skin-like. It just gives my skin a flush of color, and I'm not using it in maybe the way you see some people applying blushes. The way I use it is I use it very naturally. I just take literally one dab into this powder, I tap off the excess, and then I press it into the cheeks, and it just makes my cheeks look like they're blushing from within. It is a very natural color, and it is just very skin enhancing. It just enhances your natural beauty without it being overwhelming. Gorgeous formula. If you haven't yet checked these out, definitely take advantage of that coupon code that Sephora is releasing. I did want to say the code will be Yay Gifting. Again, 20% off, one-time use from December 1st to December 10th. Back to Clé de Peau for the highlight. This is a phenomenal highlighter. So Clé de Peau, again, they've been kind of going through this reformulation with some of their products. I have a feeling they're going to reformulate their blushes, which is why I'm not talking about them. First, they're out of stock. I love that formula so much, but they've been out of stock for so long, so I have a feeling they're going to reformulate, which I'm very excited for. Besides the point, they reformulated their Luminizing Skin Enhancers, so it is a different formula. The formula before was it was just almost like a brightening powder where it just added dimension to your skin, almost like in the way you'd use a bronzer, how it adds that dimension back to your skin. Their powders previously just kind of did that. They're almost like a brightening powder, where this is definitely a face enhancer in the fact that it's more like a highlighter. So it has less of that powdery quality, I want to say. This is a very smooth, beautiful highlight that is a very skin-like. So they're definitely not like intense highlighters. They're not the type of highlighters that are going to make you look like you're blinding from space, or they're not going to be obnoxious. You can wear these in the daytime and it's very flattering. Again, these are kind of those skin-enhancing, beautiful powders that just make your complexion look even better. This shade is gorgeous. So this shade is the shade Shooting Stars number 22, which is their more like sheer formula. So they came out with 2 different formulas. Some of them are just a little bit more intense, and then the other ones are a little bit more natural. And the shade 22 Shooting Stars, so if they have 2 digits, it means it's the more natural version. So this one is the more natural version. It's just a little bit more sheer, very daytime appropriate. I like to use this on the eyes as well. So the shade 22 Shooting Stars looks like it would be too deep, but it's actually not when it's blended onto the skin. It just looks very natural. It just melts right into the skin. And this is a product that I use so much just, again, to finish off my makeup look. And I love to use it on the eyes because it's just such a delicate highlighter and just really is flattering and beautiful. Highly recommend this. I will be picking up the shade Golden Galaxy in just the refill during the sale. So if you're looking for something that's maybe not this bronze tone, I would definitely suggest that shade. And then I do want to mention, Peau does use a glitter overspray when in these powder products. So if you're thinking initially that they're a little bit too glittery, all you have to do is get that glitter overspray off of the powders, and then you'll get to the actual product where it's a lot more sheer and a lot more natural looking on the skin. But when they're buffed into the skin, they're just so beautiful. It just gives you that very natural, subtle glow that looks like you're glowing from within without it being too harsh. And then again, going back to Chantecaille, I did want to mention their Precious Metal Gold Highlighter. So this is actually the version that was released, I think it was in 2019. They literally look identical, so I did decide to skip that powder highlighter. But if you're looking for something that is a lot more intense than the Peau, that is very holiday appropriate, that's a lot more shining, it's a lot more noticeable, but again, it's not going to be that really tacky highlighter that looks super intense. This is an intense highlighter that still looks very flattering, that still just enhances your complexion, but it's just going to be more of an intense look, maybe a little bit more dramatic. But again, it's very perfect for the holiday. It's just a little bit more pigmented, but there are no glitter chunks. Like, I still like, even if it's an intense highlighter, I still like it to melt into the skin. I still want that skin-like quality, even if it is intense. Moving on to the eyeshadows. So some of my Holy Grail eyeshadow palettes include this Surratt quad. So you can actually get pre-made quads. If I could suggest, the Beyond Beige palette is beautiful. It has some of the shades that I have in this palette. So this is a palette that I made myself, and you can just buy the palette separately and then choose your own shades from Surratt. Like I said, with this formula, it's very similar to their powder bronzer formula, where it's very creamy of a formula. So it feels like a creamy powder. And the way these just melt onto the eyes and look on the eyes, they're just so blendable all together. They blend like a dream. If you're a beginner, highly suggest this formula. Even if you're more advanced, of course, this would be easy for you to work with. But just how this looks and behaves and performs on the eyes is truly like nothing on the market. It's just so gorgeous. So this shade is Chamois. It's a very light beige. This is the shade Greige, which is just kind of like a neutral light brown, which is perfect for the crease. I have the shade Cuivre, which is just a warm tone brown with a bit of a shimmer. And then the shade Truff, which is a deeper warm tone brown that is perfect for the lash line or deepening up the outer corner. This is just a perfect neutral palette that I'd recommend for anyone, and the formula is just outstanding. And then the Peau palette. So this was, again, just recently released, and this is the eyeshadow quad in the shade Beach Pebbles. I decided to choose this shade, one, because it's really neutral in comparison to some of the other shades that they released, and two, because it's kind of the lightest color story. I think they had one, but it was very similar to this color story, but it's more on the cool tone side. I just prefer warmer, more neutral tones on my skin tone personally. But I love this palette because it's so sophisticated. This is just the most sophisticated palette and such a sophisticated, just classy formula. It's so gorgeous. So we have this primer shade. This is the only shade in the palette that is formulated different from the other powder products. This is more like a cream eyeshadow, I want to say. So you can apply this as a base all over the eyes and then go in with these powder products. And these powder products are just, they're such a breeze to use. They are different than the Surratt, where the Surratt's more of that powder to cream. This is just a typical powder formula, but it is so blendable. Again, very beginner friendly, and just the sophistication I get out of this eye palette, I just think it is so versatile as well, because I feel comfortable wearing this to any occasion. I could wear it to get coffee, go to the grocery store. I could wear it to an evening event where it's a very elegant event where maybe you're wearing like quite like a gown or something, which I don't go to those events, but if I were, this is the palette I would reach for because it's just so sophisticated and so beautiful. It just enhances your natural beauty without it being overdone, without it looking like you're wearing a ton of eyeshadow. So I just really, really enjoy this color story in this formula. It is fantastic. It's what I'm wearing on my eyes right now, and it is lovely. So I want to talk about some one and done eyeshadows. If you know, like those neutral palettes are perfect, and then I either like to top it off with a one and done eyeshadow just to finish off the look with a bit of shimmer, or I just like to wear a one and done eyeshadow on its own, just on an everyday basis. So I have to talk about these new Surratt Souffle eyeshadows. My favorite shade is the shade Ciel Dore. Now, again, I want to disclose, Surratt did send me 3 of their shades. This is just my favorite one. I would have purchased this shade myself. I would have spent my own money on this shade just because I was curious about the formula. This is such a unique shadow, and it's really weird because it looks like I haven't even used it, but I've used it probably like 10 times, but it just stays in this, I don't know, in this texture. It's so weird, and it's such a unique formula because it looks like it would be a cream eyeshadow, but it's like not. It's like a gel. It feels like, do you remember when you were a kid and you had those like that Jello type of product that you'd like play with at birthday parties? It feels like Jello. It's so weird. It feels like jelly, like Flubber almost, you know, the movie Flubber. It feels kind of like that sort of product. It's not like a putty cream eyeshadow. It's so weird. And then as you can see, I'm touching it, I'm getting swatches, I'm rubbing my finger up in there, but it literally looks the same. So I don't even know how you'd ever use up this eyeshadow. I feel like it's gonna last until I'm 95. It's such a weird formula, but it is so beautiful. It's definitely a sheer one and done eyeshadow. It is what I'm wearing over top of that Clay de Peau quad. Just to kind of finish it off, this is like the perfect one and done eyeshadow because it's a beautiful light tone. So I kind of like my makeup more on the light, natural side. So this is just beautiful on an everyday basis. It's more of like a champagne, it's more of that champagne with like a hint of pink, peach kind of shade. It's gorgeous, and there's no chunky shimmer particles. Sometimes with these like creamy eyeshadows, they have a lot of metallic glitter. This doesn't at all. It's very smooth. It just gives your eyes this beautiful reflection. It gives you life. It's gorgeous, and it does dry down, and it lasts all day long on me. Such a great formula. I haven't used them on my channel yet, so the next video I film, I will definitely be showing you guys these in action, but the shade Ciel Dore is just the most neutral in tone, which, again, you know, neutral is kind of my sort of thing, but they have other beautiful colors if another color screams out more to you. This formula and this shadow, it is truly unique. It is truly an innovative beauty product. So if you're looking for something innovative that is very unique that you don't really have in your collection, I can tell you for sure you don't have this formula in your collection. It's hard to describe. It's just very unique and beautiful. Another one and done shadow that I have been loving is this Merit. This is the Solar shadow in the shade Vachetta. So Merit is doing a 20% off sale on their site, and then again, Sephora will be doing that one-time use code with a 20% off. I just really like this on a daily basis. It's a matte cream eyeshadow. Is it truly, I guess it's not like super unique or anything like that, but for some reason I just really like this formula, and I think it's because it is because it is in this container. For some reason I don't love the stick eyeshadows because I find myself just going in with a brush on the stick eyeshadows anyways. And I just really like this formula because it's quite dry. If you have very dry eyes or you have more mature eyes, I don't think this would work for you. Or if you're a beginner, I don't think I'd recommend this necessarily because it's a stiffer formula, so you just can't go in and blend. You have to be kind of careful with how you blend it. But even so, I really like to use this on an everyday basis. I really like it. I want to mention the Chantecaille Luminescent Eye Shade. Again, I talked about this in my Chantecaille video, so I'm not going to go on about this, but truly, if you're looking for something special this holiday season, pick up this shade. Well, this is just my favorite shade in the shade Lion. Pick up one of these luminescent eye shades while you can. Truly, you will not be able to stop wearing this for this holiday season. If you have any holiday parties for Christmas Eve, it's so good. It's so beautiful. It's just a very sophisticated shimmer. Or if you're looking for something for a daily basis, the Chantecaille Mermaid Eye Color. My favorite is the shade Copper. Truly a beautiful formula. Again, not going to go on about this because I've talked about it lots, but beautiful. It does feel more like a cream product. Gives you great pigmentation, but doesn't have any glitter particles or glitter flecks. It's just a very elegant, everyday shimmer. And then for the lips, I just have one lipstick to mention because I find that lipsticks, well, they go bad the fastest. So, and I'm trying to be really careful with my lipstick products because I tend to just reach for the same ones every day. So my holy grail everyday lipstick is the Merit. This is the signature lightweight lipstick in the shade Baby. I have gone through it. So Merit sent me the first one and I went through that completely, and then I bought the second one. This is the second one and I'm almost done it, and I will be repurchasing a third one because that is how much I love it. It's just such a good lipstick because it almost has like a sheer pigmentation to it, so it doesn't go on super pigmented. It is almost like a hybrid between a lip gloss and a lipstick formula, so I just find it perfect for every day where I just kind of want to, you know, when I apply makeup, I want my lip color to just look like I've just applied maybe a gloss on top. Like I just want it to look like my natural lip color basically. And I want to bring that life back to my lip color after I've applied makeup. And this is what this product does for me. It just gives me that color back to my lips. It's my lips, but better sort of shade. And I just think this formula is really lovely because it is a lightweight lipstick. You don't feel it on your lips. It doesn't feel heavy. You never feel like it's drying. It feels very comfortable after it fades away. So highly recommend that one. But that is everything for all my Holy Grail products that are currently on sale during this Cyber Week. Again, please don't feel pressured to buy anything. I just wanted to share these sales with you, and I will go back to regular program videos after this. If you have any video suggestions, I would love to hear from you. Let me know down below if you have any favorites that are currently on sale or if you will be picking anything up. I love to hear from you. I love to know what you guys are going to be picking up. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Like this video if you like it, and I'll see you in my next video.